Brandon Herrera, AK guy. He's like, I was texting him. I was like, dude, you keep emailing me. Like, you're emailing me so much because he's running for Congress. I'm like, did you see the message below? I hope you did. There's less than 48 hours left. I was like, Brandon, thanks for emailing me so much, man. Like, you're a fucking awesome friend. Like, I'll talk to you more this year. And then he's like, dear Patriot, our rights are in jeopardy. That's what he just texted me. Yeah, I hope so. He's fucking hilarious. God, we need a guy like that.
He's gonna start talking to you like that all the time now.
Yeah.
All his text messages are, dear Patriot.
Dear Patriot. Like, that's what I want my friends to run for office. I want them to just start talking to me like they're fucking bullshit emails. Like, when you donate to one campaign, like, you're fucked.
You're fucked.
You're fucked. I literally had to get rid of my other phone because I was like, I'm tired of this. Because it doesn't matter. Like, you say stop, it doesn't fucking end. Like, it just goes on. Like, you would think that they would be able to, like, get fucking sued for that shit.
Well, you have access. Like, I've tried to get access to these guys. They'll take your money, and then, because we're fighting for gun rights, for our company's rights, and they don't.
Well, they just tried to shut our internet down again, or like a few weeks ago.
Seriously?
Website.
No, they tried to shut our USPS postage off.
Yeah.
Why?
Because we're evil.
Company. You're not a firearms company.
That's what I told them.
Right.
we make an inert object.
Dear dummy.
Dear
government
stupid
idiot.
person. Let's start this the right way. Dear stupids.
Yes, it's.
What we used to be tracked as essentially like rockets. If we were trying to export anything overseas, it was like you treated us as we were exporting like ICBMs. It's ridiculous.
Are you about ready or what, motherfucker? Jesus Christ. Oh, are we recording? Oh, that's great.
The Black Rifle Podcast starts now.
Welcome to the show. So,
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us.
I mean, how long have we known each other?
You know him the longest.
Yeah, 4 years, 5 years? 5 years?
5 years since you guys moved in next door. When I was literally as a running joke with my wife. Like, I knew I was gonna move in there. There's gonna be fucking flags.
Yeah.
They're gonna hate me. It was like this running joke, and then I get a text. I saw a lady get out of the car, and she had a Black Rifle coffee hat, and I was like, "Oh, thank God!"
Oh, thank God!
Because like immediately,
it's like an immediate qualification for people because you're like, "Oh, at least I know this person isn't a total loon." Because where we lived in Salt Lake, it's like rainbow flags every third house. So it's definitely a specific type of individual, which I think it's pretty funny because I've told this story a couple times on the show where like we went to was it you and I, we went to that Halloween party?
Yeah.
And like all the neighbors were there and they're introducing each other by pronouns or whatever. I can't remember exactly the circumstance, but then when we started talking, because this was right during COVID.
It was right in the middle of COVID.
And they were asking us, like, how do you buy a gun? And, like, not only how do you buy a gun, but, hey, I have a generator in my house. Like, I mean, hey, stock up on food, neighbor, because I'll be knocking on your door if things go real south. And they're just like, what? Oh.
I'll stock up on food. Don't take it, please.
I would have been a great seed sorter back in the day.
Yeah,
if we were in hunter-gatherer times, I would have been a good gatherer. You guys would have been the hunters.
They're not trying to buy guns anymore.
No.
They're back to evil again.
Yeah. They're back to wearing masks.
Yeah. I mean, I was in California for 10 years via Illinois. I grew up in Illinois. And so I was moving to Utah. Like, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
Like-minded people. Got to Salt Lake City. I'm like, whoa, where am I? Like, what happened? Like, these people don't think like I do.
No.
Nice people, but
some of it was so stupid though, because I was coaching wrestling during COVID, and it was like we're supposed to coach wrestling where you're like face to face with the dude, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you have to have masks on while you do it." I'm like, I'm rolling around with this person. Like,
are you serious?
Oh yeah, they were like the admin for the school. If they came in and they didn't see us in a mask, they were just like, "What are you doing? Put your mask up." I'm like, I'm rolling around on a mat with them, sweating my nuts off. Like, it's not gonna work.
Where were you teaching wrestling?
West High.
Oh, okay.
Just coaching the wrestling team for 3 years.
It's weird because he never wrestled. He's just somewhere rolling around with boys. So
You
weird.
just, like, you just show up at the high school. And, like,
Yeah, I know a thing or two.
Hey guys, over here at the impromptu wrestling. Like, here comes that guy again, wanting to wrestle with us.
Who is that?
This is baseball practice, dude. You got to get out of here. Oh, that's a good start.
But
So,
it was so weird. Like then my wife texted me again. It's like I talked to her. Her name's Kate, and they own Black Rifle Coffee. And I was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Like someone that actually gets me.
somebody that gets me.
Yeah.
I know I've told that story. I don't know how many times where I'm like, it's like the winning the neighbor lottery, because
Yeah.
you know, your daughter and my daughter became friends, or the same age. We're basically, you know, sharing the same backyard, and we could like co-lament over everything that was happening at the same time. Also, we just started fucking, you know, talking about ammunition like right away because of Alpha. I mean, how old was Alpha then? 2 years?
2 or 3 years. Yeah.
3 years.
Yep.
Yeah. When did you start it?
It's the same time Black Rifle. So what was it, 15? You guys started 15?
14.
Yeah. Which is 15.
Yeah.
So
My first transaction was 15. I started it in 14. So it's almost 10 years old to the date.
okay, that's kind of where we were at. I think we founded right around 14.
Yeah, because I was still in grad school when we
Yep.
found it, and then
And
15
15
we moved out to Ogden and started it up in Ogden.
Yeah. Why did you guys decide Utah?
It's a
of
cool
all
state.
places?
We worked with there's a manufacturing specialty company out here that does like manufacturing equipment. And so they do, what I say is they do the up and down of the presses and all that. And we went to work with them to help design the initial machines. And then we took it over and did all the tooling ourselves. And so we were talking about moving back to Colorado because I was in Colorado before this, and it was getting a little too blue, I think. And we just liked it here. We like the mountains and everything, the lifestyle. And so we stuck around and stayed in
we
Utah.
talk about it all the time. It's like quality of life.
Yeah.
Where you can get outdoors here in 20 minutes. You're almost off the grid, but you got an international airport 20 minutes away. So trying to find that location, we scoured the country, and obviously we had to be in a two-way friendly state.
Right. Yeah. I always classify this as like the Walmart of states. You know, it's super convenient.
Convenient. That's
You know,
it.
what is the like, what is the selling point of Utah? Is like, it's convenient. It's the mountains aren't the best. They're not the best,
But they're right there.
but they're right there.
They're right there.
They're right there. Moab's pretty cool, and it's right there. You know,
Arches, all that.
this is Delta Hub in Salt Lake. It's right here. Bang.
Yep.
Like it is a wonderful state full of incredible people, and it's really fucking convenient.
Until the air quality sucks.
Salt Lake, yeah, winters suck.
Yeah, that's the one bad part.
They just like if we could fix that, that would be incredible. Like,
You know, the Mexican government wants, they have the same thing down in Mexico because it's kind of in a valley in Mexico City.
Mexico City's horrible.
Yeah, and they thought they're in all their genius. They were just like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get a bunch of helicopters. And they would just fly helicopters up and down to try and like rotate the air
that
like
sounds
a fan.
logical to me.
It was a legit plan.
Do they not understand like
Yeah, no, they don't.
particulate?
No,
and,
they don't
like,
have a clue.
What the fuck?
a real thing.
Even I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't want to discourage them because you got to watch that happen.
Yeah,
You got to watch it
They're
unfold.
just like it's just like a big blender. It's like an air
Yeah.
blender, just like going up and down,
Slicing
stirring up the shit. So explain to me, and I think this is pretty interesting because like we've been talking a lot about precision shooting and like how there are all these parallels in coffee, but like one, I think PRS needs to be mentioned here because I think it's like such an important piece of what you guys do and how you guys do it. Like, let's unpack that for me for as long as you want, really. Like, what is PRS? Like, what's it all about?
Yeah, it's precision rifle series, and it's an actual series, but now it's actually become a what you call any sort of long range precision shooting and competition. So, it's the best of the entire firearms industry. The best rifles, the best actions, the best components, the best optics, and you're competing in 1 to 2 day matches, probably 10 to 20 stages, depending on the match. And it's mainly focused on positional shooting. So you got to build a position with a rifle, and ranges say from 400 yards to a mile.
So it starts at 400 and then it can push out to a mile.
Push out to a mile.
You get some.
Do you have
closer ones.
do you have like one rifle that you can use, or can you switch them out and use different calibers and do whatever the fuck you want?
It's not like golf where you can pick up like, hey, this is my.
I want this club.
Yeah, no, you kind of, if your rifle goes down, you have the opportunity to go like fix it, switch it out, and come
Right.
back into the competition. But pretty much you take one rifle and you shoot it through the whole match. And that's the cool thing with the calibers they use is they're so versatile. Like the 6-Dasher, I think you shot Tommy's, right? It's this little tiny case, but shit, you'll shoot that out to a mile, no problem. And people will look at that and be like, what do you mean you don't need a 338? It's like, no, you just need this little 6 mil and it's going to hammer. It's all about consistency, like we were talking about.
Yeah. So where did that, like from the round development of the PRS, like where did they start and where do they come today? Because like I see all these different, what we'll call them variants.
Wildcats is what that, like within industry is what they call them, wildcats.
Right.
And so precision shooting goes back like quite a ways, and it was mainly done. Most of it was out of a company called Lapua in Europe. They started with the most popular one is the BR family of cases. Like there's a case called the 6BR, and everyone's taken that and done like the 6BRA, the 6BRX. The
What's BR stand for?
bench rest.
Bench rest. So there's a shooting discipline where you sit on a bench with the heaviest rifle that you can.
Like 60-pound gun. You can't pick that thing up.
And you're shooting 600 yards to 1,000 yards. And so, like, for example, we hold the world record now with our brass. It was a 1,000-yard group at, I think, 2.64 inches, 10 shots.
What caliber?
It was a 6 BRA.
What's BR? What's the A?
So the A stands for Ackley. So there's an individual, P.O. Ackley, back, I think that was like the 40s to 60s. He was super famous, I think.
Yeah.
But he used to take cases, and gets way too complicated.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
This is great.
So when you look at shoulder angles on the front of the case, right? So
Right.
you have like your old school traditional cases, like your 308 is a 20-degree shoulder. And then you go to your Creedmoors, they're 30-degree shoulders. And so what this guy was doing, he was Ackley improving them, where he would bump it to a 40-degree shoulder, so a really steep shoulder.
Right.
And so if you look at how like the jetting of the gas is coming through, it like really concentrates and hits hard. And naturally, they've just become they're more accurate cases. And there's probably some more science behind it. But
So if you have that, we'll say, I guess, less of an angle to the shoulder. Is that right, or more?
it's so
Where's it measured? Where's it measured from? Is it
both
measured
angles
from
of the shoulder. So
both
20 degree
angles.
is like this, 30, 40.
Okay.
So it's get a little flatter. So that shoulder becomes flatter.
So you have a 40-degree angle on your shoulder, and you're telling me that you can actually increase the accuracy of the bullet based on pressure?
Well, I don't know if you could necessarily say it's the accuracy of the
Or is
bullet.
it velocity?
You get better. It produces more consistent results. And
Why?
that's a good question. I think it's because of how the pressure actually forms in the case and jets out down through the barrel. And you'll see too, when you have like a 308 with a 20-degree shoulder, you'll have much better barrel life out of that gun because you're not getting that venturi and that actual force. Like it's like an end of a hose, right?
Yeah.
If you have it wide open, it's just flowing out like nothing. And you start to pinch it off, you're getting more pressure through it and more force through it. And so a lot of times like your 308s will last 10,000 rounds for a barrel. Whereas if you go to these competition rounds, like most guys are switching them out between 15 to 2,000 and that barrel's done. And they're just like, now you could still hunt with it, but it's not.
So you're measuring. So if you take something with like a 20-degree shoulder and a 40-degree shoulder, exact caliber, exact load, everything else the same, and you measure against velocity at the
velocities would be different.
Velocities, like how much? Are you talking about a 10% variable or what
so you got to also, you do have to change your powder drop up just a little bit because you've got more. One of the things when you actually improve it, you get more powder capacity because you're pushing that shoulder forward, right? So you get more powder capacity, so you put more powder in it, so you can get higher velocities with it typically. But I mean, we've shot like your 6BR shoots just as good as some guys. The really nitpicky guys will get better accuracy out of a BRA, but there's a lot of different.
What's the difference between BRA?
It's just a 40-degree shoulder.
Just shoulder.
So okay, so the BR is 30. Is that what you said?
Yep.
And then the BRA is
40. Yeah.
So
That's how crazy this industry is.
They just make those little changes.
But more importantly is the efficiency of the actual case. So some cases like the BR with a 30-degree shoulder, they're incredibly just naturally efficient cases. So they're much easier to load. They're much easier to tune. None of these rifles, none of our customers are buying factory ammo. They're dialing these things in perfect. So we call them modern cartridges. And where a 308, you got to seat that bullet way into the case to be able to still feed it in a mag. You look at the Creedmoor, well, they shorten that.
Yeah.
So you can run a much higher, we call it ballistically coefficient bullet that's longer. And now you're bucking the wind better, your drops less. So there's this kind of revolution going on right now in
and it's a combination of the two. The bullet had to come, right? Because the 308, the old school 308 bullets sucked. And they were short, stubby rounds. And then they were like, oh, we're going to make this longer. We're going to make it sleeker. It's going to fly better through the air. And so with that, they were like, okay, let's change the case design because you couldn't maximize the capacity or efficiency of that case using those longer bullets trying to fit in a mag. So it's, chicken before the egg.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So when you think about PRS and you think about the development of the rounds and like the 6.5, 6, whatever it is, the dasher, right? The dasher round. Who came up with that and why?
So that's what's crazy. So these will be a guy at home tinkering.
Yeah.
And he wants to win. So he's like, you know what, I'm gonna create a reamer, which actually cuts the chamber. I'm gonna draw this thing out, design this thing completely custom. I'm gonna take a piece of brass that doesn't look like I want it to look like, but I'm gonna shoot it until it forms into that chamber. And then I'm gonna do that 500 times over, and then I'm gonna go shoot a competition with it and see how it does.
And usually it's someone that hates their life or wife and just sits in their basement and shoots all the time.
That's like what we talked about. They're just obsessive people, and whatever they do, they're going to be obsessed with. It's like the parallels we were talking about between coffee and shooting.
Right.
So those then all of a sudden become the guy next to him gets beat, and he's like, well, what's that?
Yeah, what is it?
I want that.
How many guys are shooting PRS right now, do you think? Internationally, how do you think the community? How big do you think the community is?
It's in the discipline now. It's 34 countries, so it's one of the fastest growing shooting sports in the world. Because so I think in the U.S., if you look at 2-day matches, I don't know, 2,000-3,000, but then you look at 1-day matches, which are happening all over the country constantly. 20,000-30,000 maybe. I don't know what the actual numbers are.
Yeah. Tell me how that's designed, because you have region, you have state, you have a bunch of different the way that this is broken down. I think it's important for people to know because I want them to try to get involved in it. Like I want them to try to like go out and check out a match, like try it on for size, see how it fits, because I think it's a really cool activity for vets and for other dudes just to be like, yo, I'm going to go out on this weekend, shoot my rifle, meet a bunch of other guys that are doing the same kind of thing, because like the shooting sports just in general, they're dying, right? Like we know they're dying. Here's one sport that's actually growing. It's really cool. It's heavy equipment based, which is if you're a gearhead, dude.
Oh, you go down the rabbit hole fast.
There's nothing.
Good luck.
You think golf is expensive?
Yeah. If you buy a golf course, maybe.
Buy a golf course.
Or they have those in-home
simulators.
Yeah. Do you have one?
No. I had a funny story. I had a girlfriend in high school. Her dad had one, and we used to go play on it sometimes.
That thing is awesome. I would actually probably play golf if I had one of those things. I'd be like, this is cool, man. I got this thing in my basement. I'm gonna fucking hit balls. That's great. God,
yeah.
It's a great idea. I should get one for the shop.
You should just get a shooting version of it, though.
I know, right?
Indoor shooting range.
Yeah. Well, they have them for archery. Why can't we have them for a long distance shooting?
Yeah.
My point in this is, I think talking about PRS, talking about your guys' company, talking about accuracy just in general, like how do people get involved in this? Like just go to the website, PRS.
Just go to the PRS website and you can find all local matches. So it's very simple. You can pay to be scored. I think it's a couple $100. Right. And then they'll actually track your score against all other shooters around the country. Or you don't have to pay. And then your scores aren't tracked and you just go shoot it for fun.
Okay.
So it's very simple, and there's matches going on in every single state, every single weekend.
And the people are great. Like that's one of the big things about the shooting sport community is that, I became really good friends with my buddy Mike Keenan. Like we were at a match and my rifle goes down, the trigger breaks, and he's just like, "Oh, dude, here's my $12,000 rifle with a Schmidt and Bender and like all this other stuff on it." He's like, "Use it."
And my ammo and everything. Here.
Because my ammo might not work for his gun, and so it was like, he's like, "Here, take everything," because I bring a backup when I go shooting. Right. But yeah, you go to a match, they'll be like, "Oh, you need a rangefinder? Oh, you need to borrow my optics?" Like you don't, you've got a Vortex, I've got a Swaro, like whatever you say, Leica, and so they'll just give it to you, and they'll be like, "Use it, let's figure it out." And one of the other sports that I think is a really good one to mention is the NRL hunter stuff. Yeah. I think you're a big hunter, and hunting pressure is increasing a lot, and people take all this time off of work to go hunt. And it's like, how do I increase my likelihood of success? It's like, learn to shoot.
Learn to shoot.
Yeah. And like with the bows, we talk about this. It's like guys will go out and shoot their bow every day. Getting
Every day.
ready. And it's like, why aren't people doing that with their rifles? Why is there?
It's hard, dude. Like, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, like,
It's hard to find.
I can shoot my bow in my backyard.
Yeah.
I can shoot in my basement.
But you
It's
could
kind of hard to shoot that fucking rifle.
you could do trigger pulling though, and that's the most important part.
100%, but there's
not as cool.
It's not. There's no reward.
Yeah,
it's
you
like
don't
when you're hitting a target. It's like it's like differentiating between sex and a strip club. Like, fuck yeah, I mean, going to a strip club is cool, but if you give me the option to bang my wife, I'm going to take that one. Does that make sense? Because I get to hit a target, I get to measure for accuracy, I get to do all of the things versus like doing dime drills on my barrel, like doing dry fires. That sounds painful to me.
That's honestly why if you look at a lot of hunters, they'll pull the gun out of the safe, they'll take it to the range, they'll shoot 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Same box of ammo from 5 years ago.
And say, I'm dialed in. Why not go shoot a couple one-day matches? You're going to find every problem that you have, every issue that you have is going to be vetted out in a one-day match.
100%. The Total Archery Challenge, there's like zero doubt. Shooting 1 or 2 matches of that, I guess, before leading into archery season for the fall, it 100% improves my ability to kill animals. 100%.
And you realize what you got to work on. You're like, oh, that high angle shot, I wasn't as good. I didn't have this level correctly or whatever. Yeah, it's. I think it's coming. I think people are starting to learn.
It's coming. The military is now heavily involved. Actually, this is the first year the Army Marksmanship Unit won the whole thing.
Oh, seriously?
Which is very cool.
Wow,
So,
I didn't know that.
They're good shooters.
They won the entire NRL?
PRS.
Oh, PRS. Got it. Okay.
Yep. So you go there and you start to realize what actually really matters in long-range shooting. Recoil. So you start to maybe think, well, maybe do I need to shoot that huge long action?
Right.
Or can I go with a smaller cartridge with a more ballistically efficient bullet and watch that bullet impact? Now I can make a correction instantly.
Right.
So you start to realize it really quick. My favorite thing to do is we'll go out to our local range here, Lee K. And you always do these race guns.
Lee K?
Lee K shooting range.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right down the road.
Yeah.
And these guns we use, these race guns, they're very noticeable. So you'll see the guy kind of out of the corner eye looking at it.
Yep.
And they got the old school, 30-06, no muzzle brake.
Pencil barrel.
And you catch him kind of looking, and you walk over like, hey, man, shoot it. And they'll shoot, and, we're talking, these rifles are capable of tenths accurately. So a tenth at 100 yards. And they'll shoot the best group of their life without really changing anything. And then you just see the light bulb go off in their head. Like, firearms have come a long way.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me that you have so many people that have invested a lot of money in their guns. Right? They have lots of different types of guns. I actually think that it's a waste of money. I think it's like you need to have a few different high quality guns. So it's quality over quantity because, a lot of people are they'll go and they'll invest in 4 or 5 or 6 different pistols, and they'll have like, we'll call it the Ruger P series or whatever it is. No, just go out and spend a little bit more money, make some modifications or don't make any modifications, buy something stock out of the box, and just spend a little bit more money and have less, but have a higher quality item that's going to be less prone to break. It's going to be more accurate. You're going to have more fun with it versus P for plenty. Doesn't kind of work. I think, firearms, which is a good lead into like who's dominating in that industry as far as barrel, stock, bolt, like who are the best manufacturers in the industry out there?
It's all smaller companies.
Yeah.
So
is AI, do they still like manufacture?
ARs are great rifles.
Yeah.
Great rifles.
They have the most brand recognition, I would say, because of the military use of them. You see them a lot and people know of them, but I wouldn't say it's
probably
you don't see them in competition.
4 or 5 years ago you did. But what's happened is this entire new market's arisen, and you have all these new companies coming about. So half the companies that even your rifle was built with, people never would have heard of them. But it's just there's very good factory guns. There's very good factory guns.
Yeah, who's got the best factory guns out there right now? That you're from your position in your subculture of people.
I mean, AI is probably
It's kind of a
the
league
gold
of its
standard.
own for factory, but
Right.
for moderately priced. I mean, Tika and
Tika.
Tika Sako do a very good rifle.
Seekins does great rifles.
Yeah.
I mean, Browning's coming out with a whole competition series.
Seriously?
Yep.
I might not have supposed to have said that.
No, that's fine. I don't know. Fuck them.
Sako's coming out with a PRS rifles overseas.
Right.
So PRS just this year is going to year that it really takes off in Europe. So their matches now are selling out in hours.
One of the most well known, I think, is the Ruger RPR. That's
Right.
It's for the price. It's a very good rifle. It's kind of 50-50 if it shoots good or not.
But what's happened is you can now go, kind of arguably the center of the universe for this was George Garner at GA Precision, and so now he's got his precision production rifle now. I think they're $2,500.
it's a killer of a deal too.
Seriously?
For
They're
everything you get
basically
on
a
it.
custom rifle.
Yeah.
So prices are coming down, and then you're seeing you look at it, you see Daniel Defense came out with a bolt gun. SIG came out with a bolt gun. Everyone's seeing where the market's going as far as, like you said, most of these shooting sports are dying. This is one that's growing rapidly.
Well, I think part of the reason that these guys are coming out with bolt guns is because they see legislation, on the horizon as to the limitation of the box fed capability or semi-auto. So they actually have to be ahead of the competition from a bolt perspective because that might be the only thing left. By the way, we'd be crazy not to address that. That's probably where, like, there's a huge section of this country where that's where they would like everybody to be. They just want them all to be gone, but they definitely, if they can push legislation to eliminate semi-auto, they'll do it.
Yeah.
And I think we would be naive not to think that could be on the horizon at some point in our lives. And I think a lot of these companies are like, we better diversify our product portfolio before something happens and we're caught flat-footed. I think bolt guns too, just in general, like as you're traveling around from state to state, like I don't fucking know. I don't know if, depending on the color of the Gavin Newsom's underwear is whether or not something's legal in that state that week. So it's like part of me is like, shit, at least I know I'm like 50 state legal. I'm not going to get rolled up or somebody's going to have an issue. And two, I take that bolt out, I throw a rod down the barrel. I'm done. Like I rod it, shoot it. Like it's easy to clean. It's easy to travel with. Its accuracy is it's accurately. I mean, to be fair, you guys built it, or you did, or you had it built. So
that thing is.
I just said I think I want. This is what caliber I want. I want something that's the ultimate hunting rifle for essentially everything in the lower 48. Now, with that round, which we'll go into, but this rifle I think is so important because we built it. And I built it in 6.5 PRC, 6.5 Creed. Is like so we can swap out the actual the bolts and run it bolt and barrel. No bolt, yeah,
Both.
That's it.
Bolt and barrel. Yep.
Bolt and barrel.
Yep.
But how did we determine what we wanted to put together on it? Like, who are the manufacturers? Like, because I think it is important with this rifle. I literally shot that elk in the face and from 103, and people can say whatever they want, you can talk all the shit they want. The government spent millions and millions of dollars on me. Like, me shooting for accuracy offhand at 100 yards is like putting on my fucking slippers in the morning. It's not that big of a deal. So it's like, and to be fair, it's one of the most ethical shots I've ever taken. He dropped like a sack of like wet trash, and I mean, he's a beautiful elk. He was only giving me his head. I wasn't going to miss the opportunity. And I mean, I've heard the whiners and complainers and the guys saying like you shouldn't be shooting elk with 6.5 Creed. I'm telling you right now, that rifle and that round, we are 10 elk on the ground in 12 rounds.
Yeah,
10 elk, 12 rounds, and these are very diverse shooters. So that's, my dad, who's 77 this year, he shot an elk at, I believe it was 280 yards with a Seekins Precision 6.5 with that alpha round that you guys built the first year on sticks, one and done. And that elk dropped in less than 20 seconds, basically in the same spot he was standing in. I've watched a lot of elk die, guys. Like, and that's not some weird flex. I've seen a lot of people put a lot of bullets in elk. Everything from 338 lapua mag, where guys have put multiple rounds in it. Like, that's like a softball going through that thing, right? Or 300 ultras, like, you name it. When you have a good round, and it's not just like a hard-hitting round, because in some ways hard-hitting rounds can be a little bit more stressful for the animal depending on where they are. But if you don't have good shot placement, you're fucked. Yeah, like, it doesn't really matter. These are giant dinosaur-like beings with swords on their heads. They're used to like fighting each other and dodging mountain lions. If you don't have good round placement, good luck. Good luck finding the animal. You know, you just wasted your vacation. You just wasted your the lead in for this, as far as like your money and all the tags and everything else. So having high quality, not only gear, that's one thing, but training, nothing can replace it. Like, getting out and shooting your rifles, making sure you got accurate shot placement will by far help you the most. But I've heard it, and I'm here to tell you, if you want to talk shit about 6'5" Creed and me and a bunch of our other people putting elk on the ground with it, the proof is in the pudding. 10 elk, 12 rounds, fuck off. Like,
you're comfortable shooting it, right? When you shoot that or a 338, you're like, I'm on this gun, I'm going to take that shot, I feel comfortable, the sight picture's perfect. When you're on the 338, you're like, I'm going to pull this trigger, it's going to fucking suck, and you're more anticipating
you want to
recoil.
put it, dude, I have a 338 lapua mag. I hate shooting that rifle. I hate it. It is the worst rifle I have in my safe. I do not want to shoot it. I feel like I got to put a mouthpiece in when I fucking take it to the range. It's horrible.
Yeah. And then when you're on the animal, it's like, where'd that bullet go? Do you even know you hit it? You had no idea if you hit it, right? Because that recoil is coming up, and you can't get back down, and you have no idea where it runs, and it's...
a lot of
the it depends on the training.
But a lot of the courses that are offered for PRS shooters, they're doing hunting courses too.
Are they really?
Yeah. And so you go to like K&M down in Tennessee, and you can take hunting courses, you can take PRS courses. You'll learn more in 2 days from those guys.
What's K&M stand for? Do you know?
It was Kay and Morgan. It was two people that started it, but right now it's owned by Shannon Kay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And one of our great friends, Brandon Hembry, trains there. And so he was just telling me the other day, guys will show up with these huge magnums, and they want to shoot for 2 days. And they'll shoot 2 hours, and like, I'm done.
Done.
So he grabs their house guns, which are 6.5 Creedmoors.
GA built.
And
GA built.
They're very high-end rifles. And so they go out and they shoot the rest of the weekend. And now they're watching that trace. So if you can watch your trace and you become more precise with that bullet, would you rather hit with a lighter bullet or miss with a larger bullet?
Well, yeah. The other piece is, depending on the weight, and obviously this is just an equation, right? And you've probably drawn out the equation on this multiple different times, depending on, like, cavitation is a calculation. And so energy transfer is energy transfer. So if you have a smaller bullet and all the energy is essentially transmitted into the animal and it stays in the animal versus departing energy outside of the animal is wasted. So when a round goes through the animal and into the ground, how much of the energy has actually been wasted from the lack of expansion in the round, depending on what you're using. So bullets matter. Like, when I say this, it's like we found out really, really fast in the early days of Iraq that green tip was horrible for like engagements with people.
Punch
because
right
it would
through
just
them.
punch right through them,
Yeah,
right?
little
So
holes.
if you went with a different round that had, a different type of capability, you could be much more effective at dispatching enemies. So when I look at the transference of energy from the bullet itself into the animal, it's like, one, how rapid is it expanding? How is it expanding? Depending on the weight and the size of the bullet, and obviously the shot placement. If you hit it in the ass, come on, dude. I've actually, at this point in my life now, like, I've seen a lot of arrows go into. Unfortunately, a lot of my arrows have gone into bullseye. I can't find bullets I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't not found an animal because I'm just so much better with a rifle. Like I don't have a problem hitting a heart because an elk heart is almost the size of a basketball when you look at it. And I know like people are going to say, it's not, man. It's like this, half the size, the volume of a basketball because the average elk is this. Got it, understand it. But when you think about like shot placement, you're actually shooting
Cavitation around it.
Yeah, cavitation around the heart itself and the cavity and the angle of the animal, because that also depends. If they're quartering away, are they quartering towards? Like, is the shoulder in front? Is the shoulder in back? Like, there's a lot of different scenarios here. That thing, man, I can put that bullet exactly where I want it to go. And there's a really low likelihood that bullet's not going to be really close to the heart inside the 300. It is almost, depending on what I'm doing, but it's, if I'm moving and it's offhand, okay, maybe, and we're at 300 yards, 300
or 1,200.
Yeah, or
Offhand
1,200.
1,200.
Yeah.
Who'd do that?
Yeah.
But at 6'5", it's unbelievable. Actually, I should go get, I'll be right. You guys keep talking to yourselves. Dog sleeping. My Dr. Beans is sleeping. My feet. It's like all dirty. Yeah. So explain to me and the audience here, like, what is going on with this thing? Like, what's the shoulder angle of that bullet?
Yeah, so to start out with what we did with the brass is there's three key things that we determined were important when we developed the product. It's consistency, its strength, and its stability. So you can have a consistent piece of brass that's not strong.
Right.
Fire it once, it'll probably do okay. You can have a piece of brass that's very strong, but not consistent. So 10-shot string, who knows? Mm-hmm. That's where you're getting these velocity extreme spreads of 90. But what we
velocity extremes of 90.
Yeah, so when you fire 10 shots, you'll have a 90 feet per second spread between those shots.
Got it.
That means that bullet trajectory is going different.
Right.
Every single time. So what we're trying to do is mitigate that. Mm-hmm. So what we did is we created a piece of brass that's stronger than anything that's ever been developed and incredibly consistent. So what that means is when you fire alpha brass once or 45 times, it's moving less. The brass is flowing less. So it means you're getting incredible consistency across the life of that brass, where other brass, every time you fire it, it's flowing. Mm. And every 5 firings, you might have to redo your load.
So when you're talking about the flow of brass, are you talking about when it heats up? What? No.
Well,
what
no, sorry. I was.
So are you talking about like?
It'll actually this piece of brass when you fire it will get longer.
Oh,
it stretches and moves, and so
right.
and how that pressure forms out into the brass. You're going to get case head expansion. You're getting the neck expansion, and so you're just getting natural physical movement and plastic deformation of the brass. And so it's not just from the heat that does it. It's just the force of it, right? Because brass seals in the chamber. That's why brass is such a great material. And they have all these different bimetal cases, the plastic cases. We have all that nowadays, and there's something inherent with brass because you want the strength and rigidity of it, but at the same time you need it to flow and move and seal to the chamber, and that's why you really haven't seen any major invention or breakthrough with it.
That's an interesting topic, which is why haven't you seen a change in? Is there a better material, but it's just cost prohibitive?
Brass is so good.
You haven't.
Really?
No one's found it. So what we did is say, okay, let's see how far we can push this strength to where we get close enough to say a steel cased. And so we're involved in some programs now where we've made some special things for certain people, and they're testing it now, and it's running. Mm-hmm. It's running in a rifle that was designed to shoot at 75,000 psi, which a normal AR is 52. So
what increases the PSI?
The strength of the case.
No, well, more powder.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so they're just overloading.
Yeah.
They're not overloading it, but they want to
turbocharge
load it
it
as much because they want to increase the velocity. So when
Kinetic
you increase
energy.
velocity with the same size mass, which would be, you're restricted based on caliber. You can only increase the mass so much. Yep. then you're going to increase your cavitation rate or increase the type of damage that you'll create at any distance because you're going to increase velocity.
Yep. And if we can do it with brass versus these very expensive bimetal cases, you know, you're talking $1 versus $3 or $4 or $5. So that means the end user can have more ammo available. So it's been kind of it's really what we're founded on is this new technology of the brass, and so it's the precision community has adopted it because it is so stable and so consistent. So you can take this stuff out of the box, and it's been done dozens of times, and it was always a taboo. You cannot shoot brass like called virgin when it's brand new.
Really?
Yep. You want to fire form it to
in
your
competition.
chamber.
You don't want to shoot it in competition because it's inherently every single piece from other old manufacturing techniques. They would be slightly different. So your physical dimensions of the brass, you know, the shoulder angles were different, the length of the shoulder was different. So your internal combustion area volume was different, and so if that varies, that's going to give you different projectile trajectories.
Wow.
So they fire form it all out,
uniform it,
and it uniforms to your chamber. Then you size it with a die, and you get everything. But we take care of that in manufacturing. So this brass goes out and wins competitions virgin all the time.
We actually have customers will call us and be like, I only want to shoot your virgin brass because I cannot rework it to shoot as accurately, which is like the complete opposite of what the industry used to be. You had to reload it to get it to the true accuracy or the best accuracy, whereas guys are like, virgin is the only thing I want to shoot.
Wow.
It gets expensive.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wait, what are the differences between like steel and brass that make brass so much better
Metallurgically?
Yeah.
So the nice thing with brass is that when you can have it soft enough where it's going to plastically deform and seal to the chamber, and then you can have head strength of the case hard enough. When hardness is a technical metallurgical term, and you look at that, and you can create that transition from very hard heads to soft mouths through different annealing practices, so that it's the perfect union of metals because. To work correctly, when you pull the trigger, right, it kind of takes a fundamental understanding of what happens when you pull the trigger. You pull the trigger, primer goes off, it starts to ignite the powder, you get expansion, that neck has to seal in the chamber so that then it's going to force that pressure down back behind the bullet and out. Like some people don't understand that. But you can't, metal cases, it doesn't happen as well. Like you don't get the expansion right. And then also with brass, it's a bit in the weeds, but you're going to grip to the chamber walls. Brass is an extremely abrasive metal. And so you get good coefficient of friction and good force actually into the chamber, so it doesn't just exit out on your bolt face. So, right, if you know when that round that looks kind of like a cartridge goes off, it goes bang, it hits that back of the bolt, but also some of that force is taken up by the chamber wall. In metal cases, you don't get that transition or the transfer of force into the chamber walls, and so you have a much higher force in your bolt, which is going to cause damage. But brass is just such a it's the perfect metal.
That's why it's been used forever.
Like they've tried plastic ammo forever. They've tried the bimetal ammos forever, and nothing has ever really performed as well as brass.
Huh. That's interesting. Have they tried titanium? Could they even use it? Is it too brittle or
It's probably way too expensive. Someone might have tried it. They do a lot of stainless steel and aluminum cases. There's a couple companies that do that. The titanium, I don't think it's going to probably have as much. I mean, it does flex pretty well, but drawing it out and forming it's going to be really, really challenging.
I'm not talking about doing things at
mass production.
Production. I'm just
may.
trying to find like.
I don't know if there's anything that's ever that right now. I mean, we can adjust the hardness and the neck and shoulder of this case by heating it. Where steel, it's opposite, right?
Yeah.
So you heat and you harden it and you make it stronger. So it's just the inherent properties of brass, which is why it was chosen to begin with. And what they thought is there was a theoretical limit of what brass was capable of doing, and we've kind of turned that on its head. So it's
why, or I shouldn't say, why? Like, why have you done it? And then two, like, how?
So we started the company, and again, it's like it's the win for us is the product.
Right.
Like if we looked at brass, and it's not bashing any company. Every company makes good enough brass. But when you looked at the brass that had all the titles around the world in competition, it was a European company.
Yeah.
And so, like, well,
Why?
That's bullshit.
Like why? Why did they? That's Lapua, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're I mean, we talk about Germany all the time.
Yeah.
They're so good at metallurgy.
So essentially what they've done is they've dominated the we'll call them the brass space based on the metallurgy technology that they've developed. And
That was their quantum leap. Like when
was it.
When we looked at all the different brass manufacturers out there, American, European, you could see physically from the data, Lapua was
Totally different.
Wow, really?
Totally different.
Oh yeah. If we showed you like the grain structure images of it, it is totally different.
Yeah. How do you like, when you're talking about the grain structure images of brass? You guys developed? Did you developed like an X-ray machine specifically?
No,
this, or was this different?
No, you can go to any metals lab and
You can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
standard testing stuff.
Right.
we were dumb enough to buy a bunch of equipment we didn't know how to use.
Cool.
Knew nothing about.
Just go in the deep end. It was
Nothing.
just like,
I mean, we
Rixon,
knew-
go have fun.
Yeah.
We knew nothing, and one day I think I walked into Andrew's office. I'm like, the product's very consistent, but it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Let's throw away all of our tooling. Let's start over.
Okay.
We learned a lot though. Like it was a big learning curve just to get it dimensionally consistent. And like Tom said, we were like, the product was pretty dang good, but we didn't have that like extra factor, which is the OCD, which is when we made that big change.
And the win is, and you're the same way. Like it's the product.
Mm-hmm.
Like the win is the product. And so how do we take a company that's owned this market for so long and they make a phenomenal product? The bar's high.
Yeah.
And we jump so far over it that it changes the industry, and that was the ultimate goal. So we probably took an unconventional approach to it, and there's a lot of proprietary things that we do.
Yeah.
But we're able. I remember the day like we looked at the metallurgy and we're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You could see it. You're like, holy shit, how do we do that?
But
And then we started testing it, and the swan song of this thing was just a few weeks ago. The German proof house was testing our brass against arguably what was the best brass. They vaporized that brass in the testing, and ours just kept going.
Whoa.
And they just gave up finally. They just gave up. They just said, screw it.
we went to 80,000 PSI with complete functionality of the weapon system, and that's unheard of for brass. It didn't even look like it was damaged.
No way.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for a shooter? For precision shooting, it means a lot. So the last 3 years, it's not the brass that's obviously doing it. We're fortunate enough that the best shooters in the world have chosen our product because they feel it works the best for them.
Right.
And so we're now the most winning brass in these competitions. We're taking world records. But what does that mean for you when you go hunting? It really means that, let's say that gun gets wet, or you get a bunch of dust or adverse conditions, that brass is still going to function.
Right.
You get ammo wet, and you don't know what's going to happen. You may lock your bolt. You're going to blow the primer out of the back. So it increases that operational window. And then if you reload, you can. I mean, I have someone that did a live test on camera and reloaded it 45 times and just stopped. So in privacy, he's reloaded one piece of our competition brass 200 times.
What?
So
you look at the price of our brass compared to that. We're the cheapest component in any piece of like loaded ammo. Primers are 9 cents, powders, probably 40-ish cents a piece, and bullets are 50 to 70 cents. So we sell a premium product, but it lasts, and it's more economic for them to use it.
And more importantly, we did it here. We did it in America. You look at the global market, and I don't know what the U.S. is for global ammunition. It's got to be 95%.
Right.
Just because we have the Second Amendment. And so seeing the best products in the world made overseas wasn't acceptable.
Mm-hmm. No, I 100% get that. I think, and it's nothing against foreign manufacturing, because there's a ton of high quality.
Stuff.
Yeah, they make great things. I did think that like having a sense of American manufacturing and then community, we should be dominating everything shooting related internationally, and there's zero reason why we're not. Yep. The only reason is that somebody hasn't picked it up and said, you know what, we're going to do this here. And we have all the resources in order to do it. Do we have the technology, the skilled labor force? What kind of reloading systems are guys using? Are they using like Dillon 1050s? Can you do this with a Dillon 1050?
Not the base one, but you can modify it.
Guys will modify things. So a lot of the stuff our customers are doing, and the way we load is all one single stage press. And so there's been huge advancements made by like companies like Area 419.
Right.
They have a new press out that's built in. It's so precise that it lets you make perfect ammo at home. We're buying powder drops that are made by small companies that are designed to drop one kernel of powder. Like, you're not going to go buy that in the store.
No.
So it's known within the community.
Who makes that? Do you know?
There's a few companies that make them. There's a company out of Canada that makes a really good unit we use. These things are ranging from say $1,500 to $4,000.
But RCBS is like a big name. Then they came out with a cool one for like $800 that does it at home. It's more. I don't want to say it's a budget version of it, but it is.
Well, it's interesting because that's a good point, because they've looked at what's out there in technology and they're saying, let's try to match that so everybody can go buy one.
Yeah.
Right.
And Hornady's doing the same thing with these. So it's pulling the whole market up to get better. So
the advancement that the precision shooting world has had in the last 10 years is unbelievable. The growth of like optic systems, like Schmidt and Bender used to be one of the best optics.
Yeah.
And now they're not. Like, there's
Interesting.
so much better glass out there. Like you never see, well, I shouldn't say never, but you hardly see Schmidt and Benders on the line in these competition worlds anymore.
So who's dominating in optics now?
I mean, Leupold's doing a phenomenal job. Like, you go to a match, and I would say probably 50 to 70% of optics.
it's probably the most winning optic now is the new Leupold Mark
Their
Vs.
glass, the glass they have is phenomenal.
But Night Forces, the new Vortex Gen 3s are amazing.
And they're built like tanks.
It's so cool to see all these U.S. companies come out with these optics now that are rivaling and beating previously, the Europeans, which were they're still. I mean, think about Swaros, and you're not going to beat a pair of Swaro binos.
No,
but
you're not.
But they have, now you look at 5 years ago, it was a lot of German, Austrian optics, and now it's all.
You look at like just the tripod you got sitting there, like Really Right Stuff Tripod. That's an American company right here in Lehigh, Utah. Right. And they took what they were using in like cameras for filming in Hollywood. And they're like, you know what we're going to do with this? We're going to stick a gun on it and shoot long range. And they're building these, anywhere from $1,000 to way up higher than that tripods. And you go to a rifle match, every single dude's got one. Right. And they've got all the attachments for it. They got all this other stuff. Like it's the gear that they're coming out with is phenomenal. It's just improving the shooting performance, from triggers to stocks to, you go to the competition now, like you have these chassis where you're adding all these weights to it. They've got different thumb rests. Now they have a piece. It's like talking about like stupid amounts of going down the rabbit hole. They have little supports for your trigger finger so that you can't pull it as much. So there's a little like 3D printed pad that they'll put on the side.
Are you serious?
Oh, 100%, dude.
For pistol shooting,
like,
that flinch, they're trying to get rid of any other variable.
Right.
If you got to hit something at a mile.
You can't like one little wrong trigger pull, you're done. They've got auto levelers that you put on your scope that will be flashing lights, and it'll be like red is out of line, and then you line it up, it goes green. You're like, okay, send it, and you take the shot.
Oh, that's cool.
Because if you're off angle at 1,200 yards, is not the right elevation. You're screwed.
You're gone.
Yeah,
we did this with the girls. I think there were 7 at the time. Mm-hmm. You put them behind a fully comp dasher rifle, and they're whacking out to 600 yards.
Easy.
Easy.
And your girls are like 6 years. Well, now
7.
At the time,
like I put Nara out to $1,000 when she was 8.
Yeah.
Like my daughter shot out to $1,000 when she was 8, and she just like whatever. She went back to playing, doing something. And she like 3 rounds. Like I was like, slow down your trigger squeeze, because she was kind of yanking it a little bit. It's like, just slow it down. Put the dot here, bing. Okay. And then she just got up and I'm done. Okay, thanks. All right.
Dudes that are 30 have never done that in their life.
Oh no. I mean, how many people do you think in the world have ever shot out to $1,000? Like,
some people hit it like accidentally, but
sure, yeah.
But like we actually go out there and do it.
We were out shooting, and I was talking to somebody who's a very proficient shooter, and I said, let's help build you a comp rifle. No, I'm good with this. And we were shooting up to 1,200, and he's not hitting. So I'm like, here. Bing. And we stand around, he looks at me and goes, I think I should build a comp right.
Well, that day that we went up to Deseret and we shot up there for the afternoon. I don't know how many rifles did we have up there? Half a dozen at least that we were shooting on a regular basis, and we're all like I like how I introduced the variable of like offhand or standing shooting, because we're all like laying down shooting sucks. Like it's just like, I mean, yeah, you guys, like, people love to geek out on it, and I love it too. In the context of like, sure, math works. I already know it works.
Yeah,
like, math works. It works. As far as I know, if you've done all your other math right, and then once you plug the math into the gun, like math works 100% of the time, all the time. As far as I remember, right? But like when you're standing and guessing, and you got to like send your first round from offhand, you're like trying to do the math in your head. You're like, all right, well, what the fuck? Where do I put this round? How do I guess as to where I need to put this based on wind? And then now I have to compensate for movement as well. Dude, it gets spicy. Well, we probably burnt 1,000 rounds of ammo that day.
But you walked right out of the truck. You walked up, leaned the gun up. You're like, what's the range on that? I'm like, 300 yards. I didn't see you turn a knob on the optic.
Nope, didn't turn a knob on it.
Yeah, ding. I'm like, and then what, 2 hours later and 1,000 rounds later, you're shooting at a 1,200 yard target offhand. I don't think there was much prone shooting at all.
No. I think that's like the fun part of it, right? You can have your cake and you can eat it too, right? And then
that's
we started shooting pistols for distance at like 100, 200. We were shooting 9mm, and like that's fun for me.
Yeah,
like that's when things started to get really interesting.
We could tell.
Yeah. What's your rifle that you were using up there?
That's my hunting comp rifle. It's my 7 saw. So it was a cartridge developed by Clayton in West Texas Ordnance, and it's essentially it's like a Creedmoor, but it's a 7mm Creedmoor, and it's pushed forward a little bit. It's a Wildcat that's now not so wildcatty, but it's a great round. I was pushing 162 ELDM at about 2850, super accurate. It's got a cool reamer design to it. It's called a bore rider style reamer. It's a little unique to what is standard in industry, but the thing hammers. I think you were going to take it. You had it. Didn't I give it to you for your deer hunt up in Alaska?
Yeah, no, because we weren't going to shoot outside of basically 50.
Yeah,
and I was crawling around in basically the rainforest in Alaska, and this thing weighed like 20 pounds. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm going to do this.
Yeah,
but like, point taken, right? It's.
Oh, the thing's crazy accurate.
So what's the difference then between, like, obviously the caliber, but this round and that round?
So like your typical 6.5, the 7 saw, we push the shoulder forward. So it's get a little more powder capacity. And in all honesty, that's about it.
Seriously? That's about it?
It's you push the shoulder forward a little bit. You get a different length neck. But it's just, you can use like 4350 for powder or Varget for powder. And it's just very accurate case. It's kind of more based on the body taper's a little different. It's more based off of like a 6.547 or 6.5 by 55. And it's just, I think it's more in the chamber that makes it shoot well.
Yes, some cases just they end up being so inherently efficient.
Yeah.
And it depends on powder volume, capacity. There's a lot of things that you go on the rabbit hole with, but this is one that just ended up being just insanely accurate.
Wait, and so what's the 6 Dasher then?
The 6 Dasher is a way shorter version of this. It has the same body diameter, so it's your 308 base case head, and then it's what's the overall length in it? Like 152,
154,
154.
So this is all 308 base head.
Yeah,
it's all 308 based.
It's all 308 based, and then you're making adjustments. How many different variables do you think that are out there based on a 308 base?
Of like different calibers? Yeah. On thousands. Because
for Wildcats, we get asked for Wildcats every single week.
Well, you get dudes like back in like the Dasher, what was his name? He was from Montana that created it. I can't remember his name now. But he was like some dude up in Montana that just wanted to start shooting. And he's like, I'm going to draw up this special, reamer. He called up a reamer company and said, hey, make me this. And it's never been made before. And this happens all the time. People will just be like, I'm going to change this one variable. I'm going to try it. And then they'll fire from the brass out and shoot it and be like, oh, that sucked. Or, oh, that was great. And they'll just keep testing and trying. I mean, there's probably an unlimited amount of cartridges out there, just from wildcatters, crazy dudes that sit in their basement.
Comp shooters, what you'd call early adopters.
Yeah.
And they'll take a rifle that it's shooting tenths, and it's all dialed in, and they're hours of their time into it. And the next season, you're like, yeah, I'm going to do something totally different.
I'm going to do something different.
Totally different. I'm going to throw that out, and I'm going to start over from scratch because it's what they love doing.
They like the tinkering. They like that aspect of like, I want to change this. I want to do that. I want to learn something new.
Yeah. Where do you start when you, let's say, you know, I'm listening to this podcast and I'm like, where do I start to like pull the thread on the sweater here?
On the
like,
what precision?
Forums. Like, where are you going down forums? Are you
there's some good knowledge
websites?
out there.
Like, where do you go to start?
I would say Accurate Shooter Forum is probably one of the best for competition world. It's good people on there that have good knowledge. It's not like Facebook forums where it's just like your average Joe is just like, oh, you should do this.
Honestly, I wouldn't even go to the forums.
Really?
I'd go to a match.
Oh yeah.
I'd go to a match and I'd hang out and have fun with the guys and girls. Bring your kids, and the amount of knowledge you're going to gain from just one match,
right?
You're going to be pointed in the right direction.
And you can start with any caliber in a match. I mean, you look at some of the top shooters; they're running 6.5 Creedmoor. You can go buy Hornady 6.5 Creedmoor off the shelf, take your whatever hunting rifle you have, and go shoot it. I mean, the Hunter series, the one up in Idaho, the Snake River matches, they're great matches. Seth had, I think it was 40 new shooters at the one match, just brand new, never shot a match before. And they went out there and they shot it. Now, did they do well? No, but I can tell you what, they probably figured out what they need to learn, what they need to do to be a better hunter next year. And that's the thing, they came out with their hunting rifles. They didn't come with some comp rifle. They came with their hunting gear, with their bino harnesses and all that. And they're like, what's going to work? And they figured it out.
Well, I think that's a really important point. Just go out and plug in and start talking to people, shaking hands, and basically build the network around that. I think that's so important. And also, don't be afraid to fail, because you're not going to, like, nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to go out and be like, oh, I can't believe you brought out your, pile of dog shit that you pulled out of your closet. They're not. They're going to be like, hey, these are the things that might help you develop if you're really into this, and then the next time you're going to get better, and the next time you're going to get better, and the next time.
Yeah, the intimidation factor, it's very intimidating.
It is.
You're going to walk up and some guy that's been doing this for 6 years has $25,000 in gear. And you walk up and you just brought your rifle from your safe and a few things. Well, walk up to that guy. That guy is going to loan you everything he has.
Yeah.
And you're going to cut that learning curve down, because you're going to end up buying stuff you don't need if you go off the forums. You're going to be listening to people that aren't giving you good advice. Where, again, it's like, get out in the community, bring your kids. That's the way you're going to figure this whole thing out. And then it's reps. Get out and get reps in, and you're going to find every issue in your platform.
Yeah, I can't agree with that more. I mean, the first match that I went to, that was 4 years ago. I don't know. We were 4 years ago.
Match.
Yeah, put the Scooby-Doo van out there.
Yeah. Would love that.
They asked me to build a stage, and I bought a $500 van, painted it like Scooby-Doo, and put a smoke machine in it, so people had to hotbox in order to shoot. And it was the loudest, worst fucking station, because
You're inside a
van, which, by the way, I did it intentionally, because I'm like, I'm gonna fucking ring their bells, right? Like, nobody likes that at all,
especially with heavy brakes too.
Oh,
the brakes
so
pushes it back.
Yeah, because I'm like, you guys need your brakes. You're gonna have howitzers in there, and it doesn't matter, because even if you've got the barrel out of the van, it still like
comes back.
Pong,
Oh, yeah.
It's like somebody took a fucking sledgehammer to the side of the van and just started bashing.
Didn't it break down too? Didn't the truck, like, trying to take it home break down?
Hell yeah, it did. Yeah, man, it's a $500 van. I bought it off KSL. Had one of the guys paint it like a Scooby-Doo. It says like Black Rifle Coffee on it. We'll put a photo in the podcast.
Where is it?
It's out back.
You still have it?
Yeah, it's still here. They wanted like $1,700 or some shit to put a new transmission in it, and I was like, well, let's wait for another PRS before I do that, and we'll put it back in there, back in the fight. It has to go take a photo of it outside, and you can add it to the podcast, and you can take a look at it. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, like, you have a video somewhere of you just scooping brass out of like a bucket or something like that, and then we
it's hard because you got to make sure these people don't do this at home.
Yeah. By the way, the standard disclaimer out there, like, please don't listen to me on most of this stuff. Like, if I tell you to go do something, you should go do it, which is like, go to a PRS match. Don't do what Tom's just about ready to tell you.
Yeah, don't do what we do. But we were doing some testing, and we were giving a presentation to a military, and we're like, okay, let's find the limit.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find the limit. So finally, I'm like, screw it. I just literally just started scooping brass into the case and just compressing the load down. And we ended up shooting, we were doing 6.5 Creedmoor and 22 Creedmoor, and we were shooting like 75 grain bullets at 4,100 feet per second. And the brass wasn't failing, so we're laughing hysterically, and we couldn't find the failure point.
I don't think we failed OCD piece of brass ever.
Are you serious?
Our test, yeah, we've locked a couple. I did accidentally. I don't know what I loaded in it, in all honesty. I think I did something stupid. But there's an action out there that's like unbreakable, and the primer pocket had deformed so much it pushed the primer out, and usually it's like a nice cup. The whole web had pushed into the primer pocket area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I kind of shit myself on that one a little bit. I was like, ooh, that was close.
We're professionals.
But I didn't die.
we need to do this level of testing. So we're just sitting there looking at each other like.
It was like the 260 test we did. We were doing some high pressure 260 testing, and we were just like, fuck, load a mag up and let's see. And so I got my 260 out, and like, this stuff is high pressure for a gas gun. I was like, just run through it. I was like, just shooting as fast as I could. And it worked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was shooting at Seekins. Like, which is super funny. Because he told me, he's like, what were you doing? I was like, I just loaded it up in a Seekins 6.5, and it's an AR platform. So
we loaded some high pressure. We loaded some high pressure ammo. And generally, you don't run bolt gun ammo in a gas gun.
This is like, yes, unless you give this ammo to me. And I'm like, yeah, let's load it up with the Seekins, man.
But if you were to do that, I would recommend a Seekins.
Yeah, it's a good gun.
They have a really good platform. And I was like, I was just like waiting for you to say something bad happened. But you're like, 2 elk. Done. I was like, oh, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, to be fair, we only shot 1 round apiece in both of those elk, so it's like, I don't know. And there's one of the guns, and I can't figure out which one, but one of the guns doesn't like it. So if you take the suppressor off, and it doesn't matter because it has an adjustable gas block.
Yeah.
But one of the rifles doesn't like it.
Yeah.
It will not run on it whatsoever. Mm-hmm. One of it devours it.
Yeah, one likes it.
One likes it, one doesn't. Exact same rifles, by the way. They're both 6.5 AR platform Seekins. Mm-hmm. Same adjustable gas block, same settings, everything. Doesn't matter. Suppressor on, suppressor off. Like, one just eats it. Yep. Doesn't matter. Suppressor on, suppressor off. Fucking loves it. The other one will not put together 2 or more. Won't do it. So
it's shooting. You buy 5 barrels from the same company, and they'll shoot completely different.
Right.
But that's where, you got to tune it. You got to dial it all in. Mm. But yeah, it's very common in this industry where something will work in one platform and then just won't.
If you look at the bench rest crowd, they'll go out. We've got bench rest competition shooters that shoot our stuff. They'll buy 30 barrels to start a season, and they will chamber every single one, break in every single one, which is 150 rounds at least per barrel. And then they'll be like, this barrel's my best shooting one, so I'm going to use it for the final. This one's my the late part of the competition season. They'll pick like 5 barrels for the comps and then be like, those are all practice barrels, or they're just throw them out or sell them.
Holy shit.
It's crazy.
And that's $800 a barrel.
Right.
And then loading to break it in, it's ridiculous.
But we're getting to the point now where all that technology, and I think seeing that there's now a Hunter series that's spun off from PRS shooting is showing us that everything that you have in this rifle was designed and built from PRS comp rifles. That action, the genesis of that action is a competition action. You can take the bolt from their competition action and put it right in that.
Right.
And it'll run. So now what they're seeing is now we're taking all this know-how and technology, and now let's bring that into hunting. Mm-hmm. And so hunting is so fragmented. You got a million different cartridges people load.
Well, there's been this mentality for a long time, which is P for plenty, right? The bigger the cartridge, the better the cartridge. And that's just there's some validity to it, because obviously when you think about technology 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, and they were making really light barrels. Like I couldn't even hold a fucking group with my dad's Remington that he bought in like 1967. Like it wouldn't even hold a group out to 150. And a brand new rifle, basically.
30-06.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wouldn't hold a group. So I think there's something to be said about the accuracy and advancement of technology, because P for Plenty used to be, well, dude, if this thing isn't really that accurate, I better put a big fucking hole in this because I'm going to have to. And now I think we can start to adjust based on what we've just talked about. We can say, well, great, let's shoot for precision. Let's make sure this has the cavitation that it's going to need in order to stop the animal. I've shot everything with this thing, like coyotes, pigs, elk, deer. I have shot everything that I can shoot with this rifle, unless it's a bad shot. Like I shot a coyote in the ass, and I had to put another round in him, which I was surprised. I mean, it knocked it like it. He did a cartwheel from like 150, and then he kept rolling, and then I saw him like a day later, still moving. And I put another one in him. But,
Kyle's a tough man.
They're tough.
I shot the shoulders out of one. Like he was on a jog in my uncle's field, and I shot off the truck, and it just knocked both his front shoulders out, and that fucker got back up on his hind legs and was just dragging his front shoulders along the ground, and I had to put one into his head to kill it. They're tough animals.
They're tough little animals.
Yeah. We when you took the 7 Saw to Alaska, we were going to loan that to Colin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I felt bad, too, because I took him out. I was like, here's your dope card. You're ready on it, all that.
So he's going to shoot a muley. And we're like, what are we going to give him? So we handed him
my comp gun,
a 25-pound comp gun. It's chambered in a cartridge called the 6GT, which won the PRS this year. And it was developed by George Garner and Tom Jacobs. And we kind of launched it with them. And it's stupid accurate. It's a little tiny guy. And he just came back. He's like, yeah, double heart shot at it.
Of course.
And,
double lung, yeah.
And because we're just like,
heart shot. Yeah.
He goes, that gun's pretty heavy. Yeah. Like, that was a full comp gun with comp ammo, with a comp bullet. But we were very, very confident in the precision of that rifle and where he would be hunting.
Yeah.
That it was going to.
Well, I told him like a couple days before, and I had taken that gun out just to do some like load testing, because that was actually our load development stuff I was doing. So I hadn't shot too much, but I shot like a 3/4 inch group at 300 yards with that ammo, and I was like, wow, that's pretty good. It should take out a deer. And I gave him the dope card. I'm like, I know where you're hunting. You're going to be driving up anyway. Like, it's not too big of a deal. And he said when they did practice, they did like practice shooting at 300 just to see how well they could shoot. He stacked like 3 rounds right on top of each other, and they were like definitely the most accurate gun out there.
So everyone's looking and go, what is that?
What is it?
Who is this guy? Like, think he's some like assassin.
No, Colin's like, yeah, he's a former cop, and he's like he's been here now for a few years. He started here as a barista, and then he was like my EA, and now he's working in marketing. So he's like done the full gambit of.
I was in the car, and you called him when he was in the car, and it was like you're organizing like flights for like trying to get to Alaska for your hunt. And he was just like, oh, I got to find this out. He's got to do that. I'm like, hey, we got to go shoot. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's my assistant. But all right, where can they find you guys? alphamunitions.com.
alphamunitions.com. Instagram if they'll let you. Facebook if they'll let you.
Yeah, like you'll have to type it all out, because I'm sure it's like shadow ban to shit.
Or hashtags are shadow ban, everything's shadow ban.
Exactly.
But yep.
Yeah, you can see terrorists on the website, but you can't see American shooting guns.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's crazy. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.